What's up, guys? My name's Preston Landis. About 3 years ago, I was just another guy looking to get his first rental property. Fast forward to today, I own over 100 rental properties, 102 to be exact. Most of them are on Section 8, some of them are traditional rentals, but my portfolio is managed entirely from here in California, Los Angeles to be specific. I have never stepped foot in either state that I invest in, and obviously I will at some point. So I wanted to make this channel about Section 8, rental property investing, all things real estate, and no strings attached, just want to give out some knowledge. And for my first video, a lot of the times I get the question, how did you go from 0 to 100 properties so quick?
So I'm going to talk about my story a little bit, and then I will go through the different principles that'll help you scale faster. So in August of 2022, I bought my first rental property. I'll never forget it. I was sitting in a Starbucks on the phone negotiating with a guy, and the seller, at the time I didn't know this, but the seller was really targeting a household, right? Someone that couldn't go out and get a typical mortgage because of a bad credit score or previous foreclosures, etc. But I didn't know that, right? So I just see seller financing and, I get all excited. So I buy the deal. He financed it back to me at 9%. Everything was fine. I got a tenant in there. Fast forward about a month and a half, I basically am told that the tenant is leaving and that they're ordering an immediate move out, the housing authority, and there was about $15,000 in issues to my property. At this point, I'm questioning my entire decision of even getting in the business in the first place. Because now I have to come out of pocket another 15 grand. But I knew I needed to do it because if I ever even wanted to sell it, I wouldn't be able to sell it in the condition it was in unless it was for pennies on the dollar. So I fix it up, and simultaneously I'm working on buying my second deal, which was in Toledo, Ohio. The first deal was in Albany, Georgia, completely separate parts of, America. So then with the second house, everything was going pretty smoothly. I got a tenant in there, was cash flowing, and I fixed up all the issues in the first house. I was trying to reoccupy the house. And then almost the exact same situation happens with the second house, but with the basement. Basically, there's a huge flood in the basement due to a tree root growing under the house, and that's why I'll never buy a house with a basement again. It cost me just about 15 grand as well. So at this point, as you can imagine, I am like, this business isn't for me. I don't know what I'm doing. I was trying to take all the lessons I could and apply them, but I should have ordered an inspection on that second house. So again, what do I have to do? I have to fix the house, right? Because if I don't, I'm going to lose money when I sell it, especially with closing costs and, agent fees, etc. So I fix it. I have 2 vacant houses that have both had between $13,000 and $15,000 issues. As I'm kind of in the process of looking to offload these properties, a wholesaler reaches out to me with a subject to deal. All that means is that you're assuming someone's note, right? So the deed transfers to you, but the note stays in the seller's name. So what will sometimes happen, and this is why I stopped buying subject to deals, was there's a due on sale clause. And if the lender notices that the property changed hands, they can call the entire note, the entire balance of the loan. They can make you pay it within 30 days. This house looked insanely good on paper. Insanely good. It was a subject to deal. It was a 3% interest rate. It was selling for, I think they were asking 77, and the property appraised for over that, well over that. And the tenant that I had gotten in there was paying $1,100. So this is some hope, right? This is good. I finally got my first good deal. So I kind of go back on the decision of selling the first 2, and I go to, again, put tenants in them. As I'm doing so, I can, again, I got the bug. I want to scale. I want to keep going and growing and, cash flowing more. So I go and buy a fourth house. And at this point, I've spent X amount of dollars on CapEx. By this fourth house, I had completely run out of cash. So I sat for a while and I thought about what my next move would be, sort of went back to the drawing board. The only thing I could do was raise other people's money. But I didn't go to college. Well, I didn't finish college. And I had no real experience and I hadn't proven my success yet. So to get a loan from a private money lender was extremely hard for me. The same guy that bought me the third house and essentially kept me in the real estate business was the same guy that brought me this 10 house portfolio in Macon, Georgia. This deal, they were asking $765,000. They wanted $100,000 down, and the interest rate was, I think, 5%. And this was again in 2023 when rates were higher. So at this point, I don't need a bank loan or a DSCR loan. I need him to finance them back to me at 5%. What ends up happening is I put the property under contract and I cannot find a lender, a loan, a line of credit, a credit card, nothing. So then I got into a Facebook group that I was recommended that was private and hard money loans for real estate. I posted my deal from top to bottom in the group without giving too much detail out. And I had a handful of people reach out to me. Only two of them were willing to give me loans. One was an absurd ask. And the other one was a 1-year term, 30% flat rate. So I had to pay him back 30 grand on top of the 100 grand that I'm borrowing. I was willing to do whatever it took to get the deal done. It didn't matter. I ended up taking the loan. At that point, I'm kind of weighing out what options I even have and if I can even swing this deal. And I decided that I was going to try and negotiate with the seller for him to let me sell one of the houses in the portfolio, which he did. He ended up agreeing to that. I was able to sell a house for $150,000. I paid back the private money lender, and then I own those houses, those other 9, with $0 out of my pocket. So that deal gave me an immense amount of hope. I'm thinking, I've got 13 properties, I'm cash flowing X, and I'm just feeling good. This is when I start to get in the raising money because I see the power of raising money. And that portfolio changed my mindset from, small to big, right? Thinking abundance, because you'll never get 100 doors if you think like a landlord. You have to think like a CEO. You're handling multiple different aspects of the business. Back to the drawing board after I have 13 properties and the cash flow is great. Everything's going great. No complaints. But then I had this bug of now I want to buy in bulk because that's the most efficient way to do this. So now I'm thinking big, right? And who's done me the best so far? It's the wholesalers. So I literally message every wholesaler I can possibly find between Facebook, Instagram groups, Discords. I mean, you name it, I messaged them and I told them my buy box, what I was looking for. I was super specific because I didn't want them bringing me something that I wasn't interested in and wasting their time and wasting mine. And I said, I want to start buying big portfolios. Once again, a different wholesaler brings me a phenomenal seller financing portfolio. This time it was a bit different because this specific seller had just around 200 properties and he was willing to offload them all. And obviously at that time I couldn't take on all 200, but I was very interested in taking off what he would allow me to. And so I purchased 18. I raised private money again for that. My interest rate was less than half of what I paid on that first portfolio deal. Because this portfolio A was a lot better. And B, I had already established the track record of paying an investor back at 30%. So I didn't have a super tough time raising the money because I had the good deal. So I was able to secure that portfolio. I stabilized that portfolio entirely on Section 8. And things were just going so well. And they were going so well. And I really think I got so lucky with the wholesalers. So shout out to wholesalers because they've made my life a hell of a lot easier. And again, I don't want to talk too much about myself and my story because I'm here to educate y'all. But basically what ended up happening was I clipped off a lot more of his portfolio along with other houses along the way using a mix of cash flow I was receiving / other people's money. And yes, I was able to scale up to 100 units, but I don't look at that as my identity. I look at who I became during that process, what I learned. And there's so many things I haven't learned yet. I'm so young and I'm still trying to learn, but I do want to be at 250 houses by the end of next year. And I will continue to use these very same strategies to reach that goal. So a few tips I'm going to give you from my experience is if you're looking at acquiring rental properties and at first you just want to acquire a few, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with getting a little extra income. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you, from the beginning, have a vision of building a massive portfolio, then you need to change your mindset as early as possible because you will never get to an empire thinking like a landlord. You have to think like a CEO. There's so many different aspects of the business that you have to understand in order to really scale and build these systems and make sure you're not getting screwed over, etc. So from the beginning, you need to have that mindset shift. Think big, think abundantly, right? And from the get-go, you're gonna have to understand that raising private money, if you do not have an immense amount of liquidity, is going to need to happen if you want to build an empire and scale to 50, 100 houses. Once you do your first deal with your first private money lender, make sure you establish trust, credibility, and transparency because those three qualities will make or break your relationship with your private money lender. And a lot of these private money lenders are repeat lenders. So if you can make them satisfied once, then most likely they're gonna lend your second deal and third and so on and so forth. Treat that relationship with your private money lender like it's your wife because in business, it is, and it needs to be. Focus on buying mini portfolios, big portfolios, whatever it is, but it's so much more efficient, and there's so many good deals out there. Never get emotionally attached to a deal because there's always another one around the corner. The second most important thing after raising money is being able to build out your systems and your team. If you don't have good property management, you are absolutely screwed. And I mean that with all due respect. But you need to make sure that that property manager is your best friend. You need to build out systems like a rent automation software that'll also help you with your accounting. Your property manager will have access to it, and you'll see your tenants will pay rent through there. You'll see who hasn't paid rent, who has paid rent. It makes things much easier. You need to have a person on site, boots on the ground is what they call it sometimes. You need to have a guy around that can fix a broken toilet, whether you have one property or 400. This next topic that I'm going to discuss is a very crucial part of scaling as well, because most of these investors, 9 out of 10 are gonna want you to have skin in the game, which means you need to put up some of your money too. You need to have liquidity for that, right? So you need to make sure that you're reinvesting every dollar that you get from your cash flow back into your portfolio, your business. The power of compound interest is so strong. And if you really understand that concept of just living lean, stacking your money, reinvesting into portfolios, leveraging other people's money, you're gonna win. Another factor that goes into that is speed and sacrifice, right? You're gonna have a lot of sleepless nights. And I know that sounds corny and everybody says it, but no, seriously, there will be nights where you get calls that you don't want to get, that's bad news, and you need to be able to act with efficiency to solve these problems, right? Everyone's looking to you to fix these problems. Your tenant, your manager, your contractor, you have to pay it. And I think that if you can do a combination of all those things, you'll be very, very successful in the Section 8 business. So quick recap. We got the first thing from day one. You need to have the mindset shift. You need to change your mindset from, oh, I'm only going to buy a few houses to I want to buy as many as possible. If that's your goal. If it's not your goal, that's okay. Buy as many as you want, get some side income, whatever. But if that is your goal, you need to change your mindset. We went through raising private money. The power of being transparent with your investors is going to take you the whole way. And let me tell you, once one word gets around with private money lenders that you're not a good borrower, everyone knows. It's extremely important that you keep your reputation in good standing. Buying in volume was the third thing. You need to focus on buying in volume. If you have a little bit of a track record and you know what a good deal looks like, you can make it happen. Number 4, and again, probably the second most important, is systems management, building out a team. You need to do these things if you want to scale. If you're going to try and do this on your own, good luck. You will fail. You need a team. The 5th thing is that you need to reinvest every dollar and live lean, right? So that you can have the liquidity to put up as your piece of the pie when you go to raise money. So if you stay broke long enough, you'll never be broke again. And the 6th and final thing is the sacrifice and speed. You need to work with efficiency. That's all I need to say about that. That goes with any business. But the second thing is a sacrifice. The Section 8 business requires a lot of paperwork. It requires a lot of dealing with inspectors, dealing with housing authorities, dealing with tenants, obviously, and there's many moving factors. You will sacrifice a lot of time. You'll sacrifice money. You will risk money. But that's part of it. Educate yourself first, but jump in as soon as possible, because the best education is getting on the field and playing the actual game. So all in all, I hope y'all enjoyed my story and some of these points that I wanted to make. All of these points will help you scale your portfolio to 10, 20, 50, 100, 200 units, as far as you want to take it, really. If you follow the correct steps, you're consistent, you do the right things with your money, and you really, really lock in, you will win. If you like this video, subscribe. I'm going to start posting more on here. Again, my name is Preston Landis. You can follow me on Instagram at PJLinvests. I look forward to giving you guys more good knowledge and bringing you along my journey and hopefully helping you start yours.